Listeners, NerdWallet wants you to let them do the work for you. Looking for auto insurance? The Nerds will match you with top providers in your area in just a few questions. So getting the right rate for you is as simple as going to nerdwallet.com. After all, letting NerdWallet do the work is more than smart. It's genius. Not all applicants will qualify for the lowest monthly payments. NerdWallet Insurance Services Incorporated. California resident license number OK92033. It's time to play ball. My son has been working with his baseball team since the fall, and we are officially in baseball season. So if you're a mama like me and you got to stock up on all the sporting gear, now is the time. Academy Sports and Outdoors has the gear that you need, and you can bring it home for less. Gear up for baseball, softball, and t-ball with essentials from Easton, Rawlings, and Wilson at Academy. Academy offers free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup if you're like me and you forgot to get the equipment in time. Swing by your local store or shopacademy.com today and get ready to hit it out of the park. If you did not grow up with information about nutrition, same. It's a learned skill. It's acquired knowledge. It is not something that everybody just magically has. Don't feel discouraged because you don't have the information yet. And let me be really clear. If you aspire to eat in a healthy way and you haven't been able to do that consistently for any reason, it's just because you don't have the knowledge yet. You're like, no, wait, I know exactly how to eat healthy. I know exactly. No, you don't. Because if you knew how to eat healthy, you wouldn't just know what to eat. You'd also know how to set yourself up for being able to do that consistently. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I have a favor, which sounds kind of harsh if we just met, but I'm assuming that most of you have been a part of this community for a hot minute. And so I gotta ask, are you subscribed to the podcast? Subscribing to the podcast you listen to regularly is one of the best things that you can do for hosts like me. It helps to support the show and the staff that works on it. It ensures that you never miss an episode when we drop a new one. And here's the cool thing about subscribing. If you do it and then you hate this show, just unsubscribe. It's one click away. In the meantime, if you're listening, we would so appreciate it if you would just tap that button and make it official. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to another episode of the show. I'm so pumped that you're here to talk about food, to talk about what I eat. Honestly, maybe like half the listeners just bounced, but you saw the title of this episode, which says to me that you might be similar to me. Let me explain. I was having dinner with my family and I asked specifically my teenagers and my husband, what are the kinds of headlines or social media like videos, YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, that if that theme video shows up on your phone, you're in. Like you're like, this is my favorite type of, you're just going to consume it. My oldest son was like, oh, I know for sure. He's like, if it is any kind of day in the life, he's like, I love a day in the life. I think a big part of that is that he's been applying to 1 million colleges. So he's been watching kids at different colleges going through a day in their life. And that's how he's getting a vibe for these different campuses. So he's like, if it's any kind of day in the life, I gotta know. And then my second son was like, oh, if it's any kind of health and fitness, which makes sense because he's an athlete. Here is my, I have to watch it, social media, what I eat in a day. And I'm not going to give you what I eat in a day. I promise that's so basic, but I'm just telling you right now, I am basic because if there is any kind of what I eat in the day as a ... Have you guys seen these videos? It's like what I eat in a day as a professional ballerina living in New York, what I eat in a day as a triathlete living in Colorado. Like, I don't know why. I love knowing what people eat. It makes me so happy. And in fact, y'all know for the longest time, like my biggest obsession, not in a romantic way, just in an admiring way, has been The Rock. Like, I just love him. I have loved it, like just all the things, right? The one thing I would love to know, I think most people would love to know, is like, no BS, what does he actually eat? Remember when he was doing endless fitness videos and it was always him like jacked in the gym? Like, tell for real though. I want to know. I don't know. It's like I'm so nerdy, but I just love it. Anywho, I was thinking about how much I love those videos and I thought, okay, maybe y'all are like me and you're sort of interested in what other people eat, or maybe not. Maybe this is the worst idea I've ever had for a podcast episode and you're already bored and you're exiting now. Just in case there are like 12 of you who are interested, I thought that I would share what I always have in my kitchen. What I always have in my kitchen, very specifically to maintain a healthy lifestyle, which essentially means what are the foods I eat over and over and over. So every grocery shopping trip, every restock of the pantry will always involve these things. I did an email several weeks ago now where I shared just every idea I could think of in how I get dinner on the table. Like, here are all my ideas for how to get dinner on the table. And people freaking loved that email. I mean, I was so blown away by the response. I was so blown away by the open rate, which means how many people see the subject line and then actually read it, how many people clicked on the links in it. My newsletters are not selling anything. I'm just like, hey, here's a bunch of ideas. So anyway, that did so well that I was like, oh, maybe the podcast audience is also interested in ideas for how to eat healthy, whether you are by yourself in a relationship, so there's just two of you, or feeding an entire family. There are things that are always in my kitchen, but I did not grow up with these things in my kitchen. That's why I think this episode might be interesting. I grew up in a very unhealthy home in a lot of ways, but very specifically in terms of what we ate and how we ate. I had to learn these things over time, and I find them really helpful. If you don't know the journey that I've taken with my own health, so my youngest son is 12 and a half. So about 12 years ago, I lost 52 pounds and I have kept it off for 12 years. And I don't restrict myself. I eat a lot of really delicious food, but I do eat a very similar way all week long. And these are the foods I always have. So I just thought I'd share them in case you're on your own health journey and you're wondering, I don't know, some ideas. And I tried, as I was making this list for y'all, I tried to think of, if, for instance, you didn't particularly like the things I always have, then here are some options to sub out. Headline for the 12 of you who are still here is something I did not understand when I was younger that I now believe is true across the board for almost every single person I know who is in shape and eats really well, is we are eating a lot of the same food over and over and over. We're taking the guesswork out of what to eat, because when you have to figure it out, number one, if you're already hungry, you're going to get hangry. And when we're hangry, we rarely make good decisions about what to eat. When you know what to eat, when you're eating the same things, it makes grocery shopping really easy. It makes meal prep really easy. And if you have kids, this is so freaking essential. If you want to eat healthy yourself, or if you want your children to eat healthy, you have to have some kind of plan. If you are waiting until mealtime to figure out what to feed everybody, you're in trouble, because we don't make good decisions when we're hungry. that is my best piece of advice, is that you should identify the things that you love to eat and that are good for you and eat them over and over and over again. Now, I'm going to add a little caveat here. If you haven't ever heard me say this, when I'm talking about healthy eating, I'm not talking about a diet, and I'm not talking about losing weight. I'm certain that lots of people might need to lose weight for health reasons. That's not my goal. When I'm talking about eating healthy, I'm literally talking about nutrient-dense food that really honors your body, that works with your body, that makes you feel good, that has vitamins and minerals and just all the stuff your body needs. That's what I mean when I say healthy. So my personal, I'm saying diet, but I don't mean that as in like diet to lose weight. I just mean my nutritional lifestyle for myself and my family is, I'm going to say 90% whole foods diet. Not the grocery store, the type of food. A whole food, if you're not familiar, is a food in its natural form. So an apple, a carrot, a piece of chicken, that is a whole food. A piece of bread, a chip, cheese, that is not a whole food. That is not food in its first form. By eating foods that are whole, I'm trying to give my body the best chance that it has to get the nutrients that it needs. And not to go too deep and nerdy on food science, but if you've ever watched a documentary about how much our food has been robbed of nutrients in the US since industrialized farming, it's pretty terrifying. But there's a big reason why your grandma and grandpa could eat a lot of foods back in the day that if you ate the same lifestyle of food today, you'd be 400 pounds. Like my grandma and grandpa ate what today would be considered so terrible, like bread and bacon and grease and, frying things and whatever. And both of them lived a very long life. They were hardy people. And part of the reason is even though they were eating foods that might be considered bad today because they were fried or had salt or whatever, they were eating food they were like frying those potatoes, but they were frying potatoes that came out of a potato patch in the backyard. So it's just very different than the food that we get today. I promise I'm going to stop being a geek, but I would just love to add one more thing here. If you can afford it, and I know not everyone can, but if you can afford it, you should 1,000,000% only be buying organic, only be buying grass-fed. I know that it's more expensive. If you've ever wondered about it and you're not super familiar, please do some research. Please arm yourself with information. When I was a younger mom, I really didn't understand what the difference was or why it mattered. I didn't understand food dyes. I didn't know to read labels. I just didn't have a lot of info. And y'all know me, I am not soapboxing this, but if you can afford it and you are not familiar with how much stuff gets put in our food and how much stuff our kids are consuming if we are not careful, it's terrifying. And all of the different illnesses that children experience, it's such an insanely alarming rate. Oh, okay. I'm getting soapboxy. I'm sorry. I did not mean to. It's just bananas. Our food affects it. Like even here's a prime example, and this has nothing to do with farming or chemicals or anything. Gluten. If you've ever gone on a gluten-free diet, even for a couple of weeks, and just cut gluten out of your life, it's shocking. It is shocking how much gluten affects our body. It affects your body, yes, in terms of water retention, but also it affects aches and pains. It affects your skin. My daughter has ADHD. I haven't ever said that publicly, but she has been officially diagnosed, which has been super helpful. But one of the best pieces of advice that I got from her doctor, and this was like a year and a half ago, was to remove gluten from her diet and see if it helped her to be calmer. And it really does. And that was so important for us because Noah's favorite food is pasta. She would eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner if she could. And, we're having pasta and it's like organic and like all of the things. I'm doing my best to check all of the boxes, make sure everything's cool. But it turned out we needed gluten-free. And it was a very easy switch. She can't taste the difference between the gluten-free like brown rice pasta and the stuff she was having before. But just understanding foods and how they affect our bodies, it's so freaking important. And I know it can be overwhelming. You don't have to take it all on at once. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. It's spring. Or I guess I should say it's almost spring. But the second the weather starts turning and getting even slightly warm, I start looking for spring style. I think it goes back to when I was a little girl and I used to get an Easter dress. There's something about this time of year that makes me want to look for long, flowy maxi dresses and fun date night outfits, and maybe even something to spruce up my wardrobe for work. At Saks, you can find instant inspiration for whatever is on your list. Curate a brand new closet refresh or just get one or two great pieces to upgrade your overall look. If you're looking for shopping to be fun, easy, and stylish, then head to Saks for inspiring ways to upgrade your personal style. Shop Saks.com. If you've ever learned about nutrition in a way that you didn't know before, and suddenly you're way more thoughtful about what your food is made with, what's on the back of the label, it can be really confusing when you're first starting out to understand what means what you should buy for your family, and what you should leave at the store. Well, now you can spend less time at the grocery store thanks to Thrive Market, your new go-to online grocery store for getting all of your healthy essentials delivered. With over 1,000 harmful ingredients banned from their store, Thrive Market's team of product researchers do the hard work so you don't have to spend all of your time trying to figure out what is in the food you are ordering. Finding better options for your whole family is super easy with Thrive Market's Healthy Swap Scanner. You can scan a product you already have and it instantly recommends healthier items. Ready to make the switch? Go to thrivemarket.com/rach for 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/rach. thrivemarket.com/rach. I started off by saying that it's important to have nutrient-rich food that's healthy and works with our body. That's a really key message I want you to hear me say before I start telling you all the things that we eat, is that there are tons of amazing healthy foods that will not work for your body. There are not enough people. There's so many people who are like nutritionists or experts or whatever on social media telling you what to eat and do this. And yeah, that food might be really amazing for that person and you could have a sensitivity to it. I have a friend who didn't know she had a sensitivity to poultry, and that was like both chicken and eggs. So many, quote, healthy diets and recipes involve those two things. And she was like, what is going on? She had such crazy bloating and like inflammation in her body. She's like, I am not eating anything, quote, bad. And what do, right? We're like, oh, okay, I'll double down. I'll restrict even more. We get into these horrible relationships with food. It turned out she was sensitive to the point, like just below the level of having an allergic reaction. And when she cut those two things out of her diet, everything improved, but she didn't know. So just be mindful that something that works for your husband or your sister might not work for you. And I'll add another one. If you have the budget for this, I already said if you have the budget for organic, if you have the budget to get a food sensitivity test, That's super helpful. So you can save yourself so much time and pain because you're eating things that your body is not capable of processing. Okay, I'm going to slide my soapbox back out into the closet and I'm just going to tell you what I eat. These are foods that are always in my kitchen based on the meals and the snacks that we eat over and over and over. So I started off by saying you need meals that you really enjoy and that are good for you that you will eat again and again. For anyone who has toddlers, I promise you it gets better. It gets better. It gets better. I can't even say it enough. When my boys were little, I would literally cry because I would work so hard making a dinner and they just would not touch it. And now I have 3 teenage boys and I cannot keep food in the house because they eat anything and everything in such greater quantities than I thought was possible. So it does get better. But in no particular order, here we go. Number 1, there is always a fruit bowl on the counter. There's always a fruit bowl on the counter, and it has been on my counter since my kids were little, and that was a very intentional choice. I thought that if the fruit was on the counter, we would eat it, and I was right. In that fruit bowl, there are always avocados, is a freaking staple in our house. I mean, we put it on salads, we put it on sandwiches, we slice it in half and eat it with a spoon. Half an avocado is a very popular snack in our home. I understand that avocados cost roughly the price of a Tesla, but we love an avocado. Berries, very specifically blueberries. I love a blueberry, and I'm about to go. Hold on. I have to say this. I'm about to get so specific. I want you to know that I know that I'm going to be way too nerdy about this. Buckle up. Okay. I love a blueberry. We all love blueberries. I eat blueberries during a very particular part of my cycle. Yeah, I'm going to talk about my hormones more than once, so this is fun. Half my cycle, I do intermittent fasting, and I break my cycle with a smoothie. More on that later. The other half of my cycle, I have oatmeal with blueberries and nut butter. Those are the only 2 breakfasts I eat. I eat them over and over and over. So we always have blueberries. I only eat the blueberries during the second half of my cycle. There's no real reason for that. I just am a nerd and I like looking forward to like, oh, next week I get to have oatmeal with blueberries. We always have apples in the fruit bowl. Honeycrisp, in case you're wondering. And then in the fruit bowl is usually one or the other, bananas or mandarin oranges. Those are really only eaten by the kids, but they're always there. Also, pro tip, this week your kids will love bananas, but if you get another bunch of bananas, suddenly they don't like bananas anymore. I don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no way to know. I just promise you that 1 second everyone's favorite fruit is bananas, and then the next second you got a bunch of brown bananas on your counter. So we keep all of the bananas that go brown, we break them into pieces and then put them into the freezer. And Kez, who's my husband, if you did not know, he's a huge baker. He bakes for us constantly. So he has a banana bread recipe that we all love. It's gluten-free. It's delicious. And he bakes banana bread with the brown bananas. So if you got a bunch of brown bananas, don't stress out. Just whack them in the freezer and you can use them later. You can also put them into your smoothies, which is delicious. So that's what's happening in the fruit bowl at all times. Also, next to the fruit bowl is another bowl, and that bowl has onions, shallots, garlic. I usually have fresh ginger as well. I don't know why we keep those separately, just for funsies, but those are always there because we incorporate them into dinner every night. But those things are always on my kitchen counter. The next thing that is always, we're in the snacking. We're in the snacking section of this podcast. The next thing that's always on the counter, and maybe you guys have seen this, I've posted it on social or it's been in the newsletter before, is I love a glass jar to put things in. I don't like things in their original packaging. I like to put them into glass jars. So on my counter, I have 5 glass jars that hold seeds and nuts. So those 5 jars are always out and visible because, again, I want the healthy snacks to be something you can very easily grab as a kid. And those nuts and seeds are pistachios, almonds, cashews, raw sunflowers, and pepita, which is pumpkin seeds. The first three are just the nuts that we like to eat. The second two are what I use to do seed cycling. Seed cycling is a way of eating for your hormones by having seeds and oils that really support your hormone. Look it up, Google it. I've talked about it a million times. I did an episode a few weeks ago on perimenopause boot camp. You can go listen to that. But essentially, I have the seeds right there on the counter, so I can just take spoonfuls. It's really easy for me to eat them. Next, we're going to head over to my freezer stock. In case you're wondering, I literally just went through my kitchen and looked around and wrote these down in order. So the freezer stock, I am a huge believer in having a freezer filled with food. I think that's because that's how I grew up. My parents would get a payday and they would go to like Costco and they'd stock up on a bunch of stuff, and then we'd slowly like use that stored food to eat off of. So that's just how I have done parenting. In my freezer, we always have proteins that we can cook for dinner. So I truly have an entire drawer filled with Maui Nui venison. This is not an ad. I wish that it were an ad because I found out recently that Maui Nui is like one of the biggest podcast sponsors ever. And I was like, dude, do you know how much I talk about you? I do love them. They are not paying me to say this, but I'm going to tell you guys. Maui Nui, Maui like the island in Hawaii. You know I love it because Hawaii. But they're also amazing. Go look up the info. It's family owned. They are harvesting axis deer, which is an invasive species on the island of Maui. They go hunting for these deer. They do it at night. They do it in a really humane way. So they use like a silencer. So the other deer in the deer squad, they're not alarmed. You know, it's like doof, and like a deer falls and like the other deer just keep on trucking or whatever. So just like every way that they do it is really awesome. And if you're going to consume meat, I love some meat, but I want it to be done in the best way that it can be. So I love Maui Nui. We are on a subscription to them. So they deliver a box of venison to us once a month. And that's what we stock the freezer with. We'll also have chicken in there. We'll do steaks in there. We do burgers at least once a week at my house. So there's always burger patties in there. There are always burger buns in there. Bread freezes really well, so we keep that stocked. The freezer will also always have gluten-free chicken nuggets for your girl Noah. Both Noah and Ford, who are my two youngest, don't really like sandwiches in their lunch. So I just started doing these gluten-free chicken nuggets. I mean, a long time ago, but I'll do them in the toaster oven in the morning, kind of let them cool off, and then put them in their lunch. And they're not hot at lunchtime, but they still really like them. So I'll just do those in there with veggies and fruit and whatever else. But that's a big hit at our house. So we always have nuggets. We always have protein. We always have frozen berries and frozen spinach. I use that for my smoothies. We also keep a bunch of stuff that we'll incorporate into recipes later. I said this in the newsletter. I ended up turning it into a blog post too. But if you didn't hear me say this already, if you're going to be a freezer person, like you're going to stock your freezer, you got to shop your freezer. So if you haven't ever done this, shop your freezer before you shop the grocery store. Because chances are you've got proteins that you can incorporate into this week's dinner. Or you've got maybe frozen fruit that you forgot about that you can put into a smoothie. Like you've got stuff in there that maybe you're not using and you don't want it to go bad. Use what you've already got. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. It's spring, or I guess I should say it's almost spring. But the second the weather starts turning and getting even slightly warm, I start looking for spring style. I think it goes back to when I was a little girl and I used to get an Easter dress. There's something about this time of year that makes me want to look for long, flowy maxi dresses and fun date night outfits, and maybe even something to spruce up my wardrobe for work. At Saks, you can find instant inspiration for whatever is on your list. Curate a brand new closet refresh or just get one or two great pieces to upgrade your overall look. If you're looking for shopping to be fun, easy, and stylish, then head to Saks for inspiring ways to upgrade your personal style. Shop Saks.com. Visiting South Dakota was always one of my someday things. Like, well, someday I'm going to go see the Dakotas, and someday I'm going to walk through Badlands National Park, and someday I'm going to see Mount Rushmore in person. And then a couple summers ago, I just made someday today, and it was awesome. The kids and I had the most amazing time. We went hiking. We saw Mount Rushmore, which is like shockingly more majestic than you think it would be. We had amazing dinners. We stayed in this awesome log cabin in a national park. It was truly one of our favorite family vacations. And I loved it because it was this great blend of seeing a part of the U.S. I'd never seen before and being outside in nature. So maybe it's time you turn someday into today. See why there's so much South Dakota and so little time. Plan your escape at travelsouthdakota.com. Next up, smoothie drawer. I'm going to link out to blogs about these things. Like, I've gotten 1 billion requests over the years about my smoothie recipe. Like, I'll link out to those so you guys can go deeper. But my advice here is that if you have something you eat every day, like during a certain part of my cycle, I'm having a smoothie every day. Kez is having a smoothie for breakfast every day. He does intermittent fasting as well, and he always breaks his with a smoothie. So we have a drawer in our kitchen that's the smoothie drawer. It has the bullet blender, it has all of the attachments, it has MCT oil, chia seeds, flax, protein powders, mushroom tinctures, collagen. Anything that is non-perishable and goes in the smoothie is in that drawer because it's all in one place. It makes it super easy for us to do whatever we need to do and put it right back away. All right, if you are still here, congratulations on listening to a full conversation about food. Let's get into dry goods. Woo, sexy. Talk dirty to me. Let's talk about dry goods. Always have oatmeal, rice, beans, lentils, and pasta. Again, I have jars on my counter. I keep these out in plain sight. 1, because I think it's pretty, and 2, because I want to use it. You know those kitchens that you see on Pinterest or whatever where everything's like clean and modern and put away and behind closed doors? That is not me. I want things out. I want them to look beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I want them out where I will use them. It's such a bummer to like go to the grocery store and buy olive oil and then get home and go, I already had olive oil. You know, I think we all have that one weird thing at we're like, do I have mustard? And you buy it again. You're like, oh my gosh, I have 47 jars of mustard. I want things out so I'm not confused about what I have to work with. I also think it makes the diversity of our flavors way more fun. Like, we're using a lot more flavors than we normally would because it's not hidden away in some back pantry. Oatmeal we always have because the kids and I eat oatmeal all the time. Rice, we have rice as our side dish, gosh, at least 3 nights a week. My teenage son, the one who's an athlete, I meal prep for him or he eats leftovers from dinner. So it's always protein and rice. So we just always have rice, guys. We always have beans. I freaking love beans. My family's Okies, and I grew up eating pinto beans, so we always have dry beans. We always have lentils. We make Indian food a lot. We make dal a lot. We actually just had it last night. It was delicious. So we've always got lentils, and we always have pasta. I told you because Noah is obsessed. Pantry. In the pantry, always have various kinds of canned tomatoes. Diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, just plain tomato sauce, not like pre-made spaghetti sauce, and tomato paste. Those are always in the pantry because we do make Italian quite a lot, and those always come in handy. Those diced tomatoes can go in soups, they can go in stews, they can go in pasta sauce. If I've got those tomato cans in my pantry plus pasta, I have dinner always no matter what because I know I can make spaghetti for my kids. I always have cans of beans. So, yes, I have dry beans. I also have canned beans because slow cooker chili is another dinner we have probably once a week. And that's you don't have to think about it. If I forgot to soak my beans overnight and I want to get something on the stove quicker, the cans of beans come in clutch. Diced green chili. Maybe this is about growing up in Southern California. I don't know. But adding diced chilies to recipes makes them so much better. And it's just one of those things. They're small little cans. When you go to the grocery store, you see those on sale. Sister, grab 6. Just store them in the pantry. In fact, anytime you see canned goods on sale, stuff that you're going to use over and over, and you can afford it, stock up. It's on sale. Like, you're going to use it. Let's go. The one other pantry thing that used to be here, it's worth saying, I always had tuna in the pantry, but if you do some research on tuna, it's really bad. Like, just filled with mercury. It's so bad for us. Tuna is, if you've ever seen a tuna come out of the ocean, they're just freaking massive. And the size of that tuna is an indication of how old they are. They're big fish, which means they've lived in the ocean for a long time. So they had a lot of time to soak up the toxins of the ocean. There's just a lot of mercury in tuna. So sadly, I don't really eat it. Every once in a while, I crave it bad, and then I get a can. But that used to be there. It is no longer there. Those are the things that are always in the pantry. We definitely have like lots of flours, lots of baking things because Boo loves to bake, but the stuff that we eat on the regular, I just listed for you. What's in the fridge, you might ask? What's in there? Always green, some kind of salad green. Always vegetables, bell peppers, celery, carrots, broccoli. Always things that we can easily make a stir fry with or that we can steam or saute to go as a side dish. I would say most of our dinners are a protein, a whole carb, and something green. So a whole carb for us would be a potato or rice, and greens could be any of the things I just mentioned to you, but that's a pretty common variation. The protein might be chicken, it might be venison, it might be salmon, lots of those types of things, but we kind of do the same stuff over and over. There is also always stuff for sandwiches. I got kids. So I will absolutely admit to the fact that we always have sliced turkey. We always have sliced cheese. We got mayo and mustard. We've got bread. That is 100%. That's always in there. The last thing that I think is in most kitchens, but you really won't find in mine, is junk food. We don't keep it in the house. And it's not to say we don't eat it, but if we're going to eat junk food, it's a special occasion. So we're in Hawaii right now, and our favorite junk food on the planet are these things called Uncle's ice cream sandwiches. I don't know if this is on other islands, but it's on the island of Oahu. It's a local ice cream person, uncle, whoever he is. He's amazing. And those ice cream sandwiches are so insanely good. I mean, have one before you run a marathon because you are going to be so jacked on sugar, you could fly straight to the moon. They're amazing. They come in a bunch of flavors. Can't recommend them enough. Those ice cream sandwiches are a favorite, but it's like a whole thing. We're going to go, when we're in Hawaii, we're going to go, and the place we get them from, you have to walk down the beach to get there, and then we get them from this little store, and then you walk back. So it's like, also we're moving our bodies. Like it's a thing. Or if, let's say we're like, oh, we really are wanting chips tonight. We're going to have a cookout. We want chips and dip and whatever. We're like going to have fun. We will buy just enough for the meal we are having because y'all, if it's in your house and it's delicious, you're going to eat it. Make no mistake. I wish that junk food did not affect my body. I was driving the other day with Sawyer. He's my 16-year-old. And we were talking about fast food. And he was like, what's your all-time favorite fast food? And I was like, oh, without question, Taco Bell. And I started talking about Taco Bell in such a way that he was looking at me funny. Like, he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, I love Taco Bell. I said, bro, do not think that I'm not having these things because I don't care. I'm not having these things because they make my body feel like crap. But you better believe that if there was like a day where you could shut off the effects of food, I am living at fast food joints. Living. He was like, what's your order? What's your Taco Bell order? I literally made my mouth water. I was like, oh, okay, well, you got to get a Nacho Bel Grande, or if you're going to order a lot of food, you got to get a Nacho Supreme so that you have room for the Mexican pizza, so that you have room for the 7-layer burrito, so that you have room for the chalupa. Like, it's a problem. Do not think for 1 second that I like healthy and I keep this healthy food because no. This is what I stock my kitchen with, because if my kitchen is stocked with healthy food and I am hungry, guess what I'm eating? If there is anything in my vicinity that is garbage and I'm hungry, I'm like, it's like boop, 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 boop. Speaking of, I came in the other day and there was cold pizza in the refrigerator. Y'all, do you know the only thing better than pizza? Cold pizza. And I was like, I literally saw it. I was like, oh. And Jackson, who's my oldest, he was like, what? And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I saw the cold pizza in the refrigerator. He was like, oh my, you have a problem. I was like, no, it's fine. I'm going to have my smoothie. I'm fine. I come back 2-3 hours later. It's still there. It's taunting me. So I had to eat it so that it would stop taunting me. I cannot keep this food in my house. And I also don't want to normalize junk food in the house for my kids. I really think that this is a healthier way to be, so that having food that isn't the best feels like a special occasion, or feels like special occasion's not the right word. Like, it feels like something that's not part of every day. And I would like to add to that a lot of the foods that you might crave, we have learned to make from scratch. So we did this the other night. We made the best Mexican food I have had in a very long time. Again, I know that I am dramatic, but I have nailed refried beans. And refried beans are my favorite food of all time, ever. And I never attempted making them because I don't know why. I thought it was really hard. It's not, by the way. Look it up on YouTube if you also love refried beans. And I was so impressed with my beans. And that particular night, we were like, let's go. So we had fajitas, which were insane. Kez did the fajitas. They were so delicious. He made homemade flour tortillas, his first ever attempt, and they were really good. We did the cast iron skillet with the melted cheese. We had like open fire roasting poblano, jalapeno. We had homemade pico. We had homemade rice. Everything on our table was homemade from scratch. It was one of the best meals I have had in I don't even know how long. And you better believe it was filled with calories. It was filled with salt. But it was awesome because we knew every ingredient that went into it. Plus, it had been this amazing Saturday of cooking and like the family. It was just so much fun. So we're still indulging in foods that are really fun and delicious and feel special, but we're making them ourselves. And if it's something that's like, we can't make that ourselves, we really want a Cheeto, that feels like a special occasion, but it's not going to live in the house. Because if it's in the house, I'm eating it. And that's what's always in the kitchen, guys. If you are someone who likes knowing what other people eat, I hope that was helpful. I don't know. Maybe not at all. I've been trying to think lately of what are the conversations you and I would have if we were having coffee. And this would be it. If we were real life friends, you better believe you would have already told me everything you ate and what you eat and where you shop and what your favorite brands are, because I don't know why I'm weirdly obsessed with it. But yeah, that's what we do. And it's not like what I eat in a day, like all the YouTube shorts that I see, but it is the foods that I'm eating over and over and over. And hopefully that wasn't too boring for you. I'm going to link out to some blogs in the show notes if you want to take a deeper dive, or you want to find out about the smoothie recipe, or, get links to products. Anything I recommend in those blog posts, there's no affiliate link. I do not make any money off the blog. It's just a spot where all of the information from nearly 800 episodes of this podcast. There's over 1,000 blog posts. I started the blog in 2008. So it's a really great resource for information. If you don't know it's there, it's msrachelhollis.com. Like I said, I'll link to it if you want to take a deeper dive. But I guess my big takeaway in this, if there is one, is that if you did not grow up with information about nutrition, same. It's a learned skill. It's acquired knowledge. It is not something that everybody just magically has. Don't feel discouraged because you don't have the information yet. And let me be really clear. If you aspire to eat in a healthy way and you haven't been able to do that consistently for any reason, it's just because you don't have the knowledge yet. You're like, no, wait, I know exactly how to eat healthy. I know exactly. No, you don't, because if you knew how to eat healthy, you wouldn't just know what to eat, you'd also know how to set yourself up for being able to do that consistently. Let me explain. Years ago, I was researching an idea for a book. I wanted to write a book about women's health. Maybe at some point, I still will. But I wanted to interview women within this community and just talk to them about their own health journey. And I interviewed 10 different women who all had very different health journeys. And 9 out of 10, I kid you not, 9 out of 10 women told me the same story over and over and over. And all 9 of those women had yo-yo dieted their whole life. And when they filled out the pre-call questionnaire, they had all checked that they were unhappy with their bodies and they felt like they were unhealthy. Okay, so all 9 of these women had that in common. There was one outlier. This one woman had lost something amazing. I can't even remember how much weight she had lost, but she had lost, like, let's say 100 pounds. And she had kept that weight off for over a decade and was like a runner and was just everything that you would call healthy. And just like feeling good. She was the only person who checked that she was happy with her body. She didn't have any like crazy body. She wasn't like a bodybuilder or anything. She just was like a normal woman, normal body, felt good in her skin. That one woman was the only woman who didn't tell me some version of this line. 9 women, unhappy with their health, unhappy with their body, all said the same version of this line. They all said, oh, I know exactly what to do to be healthy. I just don't do it. I am telling you, 9 women told me the same sentence. By the time the 3rd woman said it to me, I started to get chills. And then it was like clockwork. Like every woman would say, oh, no, I've done dieting for years. I know exactly what to do. I just don't do it. I know exactly what to do. I just don't have the willpower. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what to do. They all said it. The one woman who didn't, the one woman who was healthy, you know what she told me? I don't ever assume I know everything, but I'm constantly trying to learn. I'm constantly reading books. I'm constantly looking in magazines. I'm watching videos. I'm trying to learn every day a little bit more about my body and how it works, and trying to acquire more knowledge I can apply. So if you are listening to this and you are the person who says, well, I know exactly what to do, I just don't do it. It's not an issue of willpower. It's not. It's that you have not yet figured out how to make your style of healthy living work inside of your life. And that can show up in a bunch of different ways. That could be that, maybe you need a slow roll. Maybe you can't go super hard. Maybe you can't jump into the deep end. Maybe the way that's going to work for you is tiny baby steps that add up to something big. Or maybe the opposite is true. Maybe you're a person who's like, no, I need to go ham. Like I need to go all in and never look back because that's the only way that it's going to work. You don't have the knowledge because you haven't figured out how to make the knowledge apply to you consistently. And until you know that unlock, you won't know how to change your health for the better. Don't get discouraged if you feel like you got a bunch of ideas for what you'd like, but you haven't gotten there yet. Arm yourself with information, try out some different stuff. Consider just a few of my ideas today. What's one snack that's healthy and works well with your body that you can always have on hand? You have it in the house, you have it in the car, you're never going to get sick of it. What's one go-to healthy dinner that you love and your kids love, if you got them, your partner loves, whatever? Like what's one go-to healthy dinner that everyone you need to feed enjoys? Even if you're a single person, you're the only person you need to feed, fantastic. But do you know that? And is it something that you can always have stocked in the freezer or the pantry so it's easy for you to pull off? So it's a go-to snack with some go-to food. Lastly, what are you going to eat this week? What are you going to eat this week? If you don't have a plan for what you're going to eat, that's when mistakes are made. That's when we don't eat enough. That's when we get super hungry. That's when we grab something on the go, which is never going to be good for us. That's when we're spending way too much money at restaurants and getting takeout. Don't do that. A little planning can go a really long way, but only if you actually take the time to do it and then take the time to execute the plan that you've figured out. Just a few ideas. I hope they were helpful. If you liked this episode, share it with your sister, then get together and talk about how you're going to incorporate it into your life. I will be back soon with more conversations. Until then, as always, guys, I love you and I'm rooting for you. The Rachel Hollis podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble.
Last year, Americans ate 32 billion chicken wings. Who knows just how many helpless sides of celery were heartlessly thrown away? But this year, celery neglect can stop with you and irresistible Jif peanut butter. Because you can make a snack to make a difference. You can buy a jar of Jif to save the celery. So please, don't let celery be decoration for wings. Tap the banner to save the celery.
At Capella University, learning online doesn't mean learning alone. You'll get dedicated support from people who care about your success. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.